The return of Lesla Lar is official, even though it was kind of out there even before issue 1 of the 2025 Supergirl dropped. This because of solicits and some images and those kind of things. Also, there were some strong clues in issue 1 itself, but now it's all official, fully revealed, so we can talk about it, and also Supergirl issue 2. This issue gives Lesla a new origin and sets the stage for Satan Girl, and it's just overall something I wanted to talk about, so let's go. We did a detailed rundown of issue 1 and a bunch of the references inside, because this series is pulling a lot from the pre-crisis era of Supergirl. Pre-crisis on Infinite Earth, there's been more than one crisis. So I'll link to that video down below, but this latest issue has generated some chatter. People are yapping, as the kids say. I'm Sasha, this is Casually Comics, and let's pick up with Misadventures in Midvale. This time we're going to be looking at it from a more story unfolding kind of perspective. This series is written and has art done by Sophie Campbell. Issue 1 Cliff Notes, in case you missed it and don't have time to go watch the whole video. Supergirl returned to Midvale. This is where she had grown up to visit her parents, the Danverses. There's a lot of the pre-crisis canon coming into play. Only when she returns, she finds that Midvale has gone Supergirl crazy, only she hasn't been there. Also, the Supergirl she's seeing doesn't really fully look like her. So eventually she was confronted with an imposter Supergirl who had convinced the town that anyone who came there claiming to be Supergirl was the actual imposter, leading Kara to try and figure out what's going on because this imposter has also taken over her life with her parents who didn't recognize her. What's going on? Well, she finds out in issue 2. No slow burn here. Also, the obvious kernels from issue 1 are paid off. A perfect, beautiful angel. Why did she save me? Well, no, she's a hero, so she saves everyone. This is Lesla Lar, who Supergirl saved in issue number 1, when Laron, the werewolf of Krypton, was on the loose. Now, not only was this at the time unnamed girl wearing the original dress that Lesla Lar wore in her first appearance back in the Silver Age, which was a nice bit of visual cueing, but she has a brief exchange with Supergirl that sets her up as a potential villain in the syndrome jilted fangirl type sense. Supergirl, you're amazing, way better than Superman. It's not a contest, okay? I'm just glad everyone's safe. I'll be back in a minute to help clean up. Supergirl didn't mean to put her down, but in a way she did. This story is playing a bit more in a Silver and Bronze Age space in terms of how it presents something, so just that interaction, life of crime. Could have been anyone about to be crushed by debris and she would have done the same thing. Which means I'm not special. I'm just the unremarkable Lesla Lar. If I was Supergirl and I rescued me, I'd make me special. So yes, Lesla's not okay. And as you see in the room that she goes to, she's obsessed with Supergirl. So Lesla's motivations here in this story are more a sense of adoration gone wrong because of a sense of self-loathing. Lesla feels underappreciated. Her grants are rejected, her parents ignore her, she feels she's not good enough for the city of Kandor, and all the while she has this admiration for Supergirl, who she's watching, low-key stalking, and starting to feel like it's just not fair. She doesn't have to work for the things that she gets. Everybody just loves her and it comes so easily. So her adoration quickly turns to jealousy and then hate. Supergirl is perfect and lovely without even trying. For her, it's effortless. Everyone loves her. She didn't struggle for any of it. It's simply bestowed upon her. She's amazing, flawless, beloved, infuriating. This is fairly similar to Lesla Lar's original motivation, and some of her first plot had some elements that are being utilized in this series. Lesla Lar debuted in Action Comics 279 in 1961, created by Jerry Siegel and Jim Mooney. The story was Supergirl's secret enemy. In that story, we jumped in right on Lesla Lar already hating Supergirl and already messing with her. This was because she didn't feel that Supergirl would deserve the acclaim that she was going to get. We'll explain the was going to in a moment. But Lesla felt that as a genius, she deserved more, and yet here she was trapped in the city of Kandor, and sure, she had admiration there, but she could have even more of it. I envy and hate her. The honors that I, Lesla Lar, have earned in Kandor as a scientific genius are nothing compared to the acclaim the people on Earth will give Supergirl when they learn of her existence. This was before Superman had okayed Supergirl to go public about her existence, so she was still his secret weapon. So in that story, Lesla started messing with Supergirl, doing things like taking her powers away. This is also the issue where Kara/Linda gets adopted by the Danverses, so it's significant from that point of view too. In this story, Lesla manages to swap places with Kara and brainwash her into thinking that Kara is Lesla, and then Lesla goes up and takes over her life. But Lesla is at the core villainous, so it's not enough for her to just live Supergirl's life. She has to do more, and so she goes and teams up with Lex Luthor and becomes his secret weapon. So this latest iteration of Supergirl is trying to add a bit more of a complex, potentially a bit more sympathetic of a backstory to Lesla. Her hatred of Supergirl is more piteous and less petty, although there's still some petty in there. Potentially to make her a bit more rounded and less unhinged than the original Lesla. although there's a charm to how hard classic Lesla Lar goes. But at the core, that Lesla was unstable, but not in a way that the comics took time to examine or explore. This Lesla has many of the traits from the original, but they're manifesting because of a core insecurity that's being more foregrounded. Also, like the first story, Lesla is setting out to take over Supergirl's life. In issue 2, we see how she hypnotizes Kara's parents after arriving in Midvale with her bunny, Candy, who will become the Super Bunny. And the panels of her arrival are some of the things that people are talking about. When Lesla arrives out of Kandor, she's hit with that yellow sun. How does she leave so easily? She just does. And the sun, it transforms her physically. Earth's sunlight is changing me just as I knew it would. Candy, even you're superpowered now. Incredible! Look at me. I'm beautiful. Even more beautiful than Supergirl. That last line really channels some of that classic Silver Age Lesla energy. It's just so trifling. Now, of course, many note some things about Lesla's change, namely that she gets dummy thick. Her clothes get the whole empowered treatment. Now, some wonder why. Is there an actual canonical reason why it's impacting her differently than it did, say, Supergirl or Clark? Or is this just an amusing visual kind of addition for the story purpose? Or potentially just for fun / because the author can? And some simply note a 10 out of 10, no notes. Or others felt again that no, it's exploitative and potentially a little bit cheap. So different strokes for different folks. As mentioned in the first video we did about this, it is a nice instant visual distinction between the two. There's not any confusion as to which Supergirl is which. Not that that part of the story goes on for too long, as we're about to see. This issue then adds on some items that feel like they're from the Silver Age but aren't, like Lesla's super cosmetic substance that allows her to change her appearance, her hypnotech manipulator to brainwash Kara's parents. In the original, when she brainwashed Kara, she used a brainwash helmet. And then in the weeks that it took Kara to get her butt to Midvale, Lesla was there as Supergirl doing good, although some of the good she had orchestrated. The first issue ended with Kara encountering Lesla in disguise as Linda in her house. And so in the present of this issue, they fight. And there's low-key a Pokemon reference in how Lesla summons Titano. Titano is another Silver Age creation, debuting in the story Titano, the Super Ape, in Superman 127 from 1959, created by Otto Binder and Wayne Boring. Although pre-transformation, his name was Toto. He got launched into space and transformed when a kryptonite meteor crossed paths with a uranium one. It's a very King Kong-inspired outing. He has kryptonite eyes. He's initially sent back to prehistoric Earth to live a happy life. That did not last. In post-New 52 continuity, he started off as a mutant genetically manipulated ape, and now he's here and shrunk down to a Pokeball or Capsule Corp ball or something like that. He's shrunk. Titano, I choose you. Stop this. People are gonna get hurt. No, they won't, because I'll protect them, and they'll love me for it. The thing about a lot of Lesla's dialogue in this is that it's very on the nose. It's not subtle. She's outright stating at points what she's hoping to achieve, her inner motivations, all of that stuff. Even though she also has thought balloons. This issue has thought balloons, and it's glorious, which is a great way to highlight contrasting or juxtapose ideas or something that the character is hiding from someone they're speaking to. However, in general, when Lesla speaks, it's direct to the point of being on the nose, which some may feel is a bit of an homage to the classic type of story that they're drawing from, because in many a Silver Bronze Age stories, there could be a lot of exposition. However, others feel that even if that were the case, it's veering towards being a bit too much or is not being handled in exactly the same way as it was in those classic stories, and so it's coming across a bit differently. Or that it should be toned down to match the more contemporary style of writing, even if it is homaging some of these classic tales. Let me know what you think. Also, they work in some editor's notes. One is better than the other. I remember Cal warning me about Titano's kryptonite I-beams. I've been so worried about him since his clash with the kryptonite asteroid. Kryptonite asteroid? Check out Superman Unlimited #1 for the full story. Shout out to highlighting when this story takes place and actually where you can go get it. Superman Unlimited is a recent Superman story time recording where Superman collided with a giant kryptonite asteroid and there was a time skip at the end. So that note lets you know that this is taking place in between that, before Clark goes DC 1 million or All-Star Superman again. Now, Lesla has yet to go cartoonishly evil mode. Wait till the end for that. But she's still far more focused on her reputation than on helping people, to the point that when people aren't paying enough attention to the battle, she just stops it, or tries to. She takes her Pokeball and tries to go home, only she's not able to subdue Titano, and so Supergirl is able to direct the I-beams Lesla's way and take her down. Whew. Good boy, Crypto. Now we have to figure out what to do with him and help with cleanup. Again, she helps with cleanup. Yay. She's 2 for 2 on the cleaning up. Everyone okay? What's happening to her? Supergirl's melting. What? Lesla Lar from Kandor? You remember me? Sure is swell. Midvale's got 2 Supergirls now. The panel of her face melting off and everyone just filming it is haunting in how accurate it is. And there's some real sadness to be found in Lesla's genuine surprise that Supergirl remembered her, because her self-esteem is that low. That combo hit of outlandish storytelling with a gut punch of emotional drama is very Silver Age. It just comes out and takes you down when you're not expecting it. Lesla, why are you doing all this? I want to help you, but you ruined everything.
I love you, phony Supergirl. Let her go, boy. We need to take our time with this one.
I did laugh out loud at the I love you phony Supergirl fan, which also seems to answer or not whether the town itself was hypnotized. Seemingly no. They were just won over with good deeds. However, Kara just letting her go after she had been impersonating her and terrorized the town, why? Aside from so the plot can continue, it's a bit of a suspending moment. That is, suspending one's disbelief. To just let her walk away. It may have made the issue a bit stronger if Lesla had at least escaped in some capacity, or had threatened Kara's parents who are still under her hypnotic suggestion, or something to increase the tension, but also make Supergirl seem like she's more on top of what's going on. Just letting her walk away from the situation like that does not make it seem all that serious, or like Lesla is someone we're meant to take seriously, unless that's the idea, that Supergirl is not taking her seriously. However, later on we'll see that she does seem to be, so that doesn't seem to be the intent. There could also have been something with the townspeople who maybe they rally behind phony Supergirl, or there's just a bunch of confusion still and so she manages to slip away. I'm curious what you think of this moment. I love that we're getting more Lesla shenanigans and it's not just a one and done. She's going to continue to be a problem. But also, Kara could come across as a bit more assertive. In my opinion, that would have enhanced this little moment and added some of the chaos. But that's just my opinion and I want to hear yours. It is sadly easy to follow how even with what happened right in front of them, some people still think Supergirl is a phony, the real Supergirl. And we get more throwbacks to classic characters. In the first issue, we had Clarissa Gitlage, who is still there, and now she's joined by Terry Blake, who was one of Linda's roommates in college during the 1970 Supergirl series. She debuted in issue 1 in 1972, and while she had vanished by issue 5, she was a character, and it was the 70s, so she had a great afro, and she still does. Actually, her outfit is very close to what she was wearing in those classic issues. This exchange doesn't reference her being Linda's roommate or anything, but it's cool to see her. Although why she's in Midvale, not really clear. It just seems to be a character reference to acknowledge that these stories were read. But still nice to see Terry. Also, I guess they shrunk Titano off screen. Kara figured it out.
Mom and Dad are clearly brainwashed or hypnotized in some way, probably by another one of Lesla's devices. I've got to figure out how to get through to them. At least it seems like they're safe for the time being. I'm not that worried about Lesla hurting them. Like, yeah, she blew up their house, but she did also help get them to safety. Yeah, he robbed that bank, but also he donated to that children's fund. Yeah, he killed that guy, but he also helped an old lady cross the street.
Supergirl's reasoning in this.
She's even already repaired the house. My parents in her life in Midvale seems important to her. But why? It's so weird.
Yeah, who would want to live in a nice house with parents that love them? Strange.
And I gotta figure out this costume situation. What did Lesla do to it? It seems to be changing the weave of the fabric at the molecular level, but how? Nanotech, maybe?
It's 2025. We've moved beyond nanites. It's all AI now, baby. Now, despite the fact that in issue 1, Kara mentioned Natasha as having made the costumes, most likely a Natasha Irons reference, aka Steel, sometimes, she calls Lena Luthor. Now, in the classic Silver Age Supergirl stories, Lena Luthor would feature, and they would become friends. At first, there was a bit of a rivalry, but then they would work together. This was the original Lena Luthor, or Lena Thurul, as she debuted in Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane number 23. She was Lex's secret sister, because no one could have possibly reorganized those letters. Lex was on his A game with that anagram. So having Kara team up with Lena, even if it is Lena Luthor 2, the daughter of Lex, it is a nice callback. This Lena was raised by Brainiac 13 because Lex traded her for tech, and then when he got her back, he had her raised by his mom. Also, the Supergirl-Lena dynamic was a huge part of the Supergirl TV series. And as of issue 26 of the Dawn of DC, now all-in Superman run by Joshua Williamson, Lena's moved to Midvale, and I guess in the interim gave herself an edgy goth or emo girl makeover because she was sad. And now if she does have to turn evil, she's halfway there. Like Kara, Lena has a bit of a different voice in this series than she does over in the Superman series. It seems to be meant to be more young and casual.
I need your help, Lena. An L calling a Luthor for help? The world must be ending. Let me guess. This is about that doppelganger Supergirl in Midvale? She is so annoying, right? What? How'd you know? I pay attention to these things. Well, I'm glad. I knew calling you was a good idea. So, are you in?
And here comes another editor's note.
Ugh, you are such a baddie.
So, just to be upfront, I figure you probably know my dad and your cousin are on the outs again. Why'd they put an apostrophe between the prob and Lee? It's supposed to be like, probably. But it doesn't have to be like that with us. I'm not my dad. See, Superman. It just needed a 26. It was so close. It just needed the issue number. Or at least the volume, because if you just look up Superman, you'll get all the different volumes because it's been relaunched a couple of times.
I know I wasn't thinking that at all.
But if I do decide to turn evil, I'll let you know.
Least I can do.
If you decide to go evil, Kara will just walk away and think about it. She's generous like that. What this scene establishes, aside from an eventual heel turn for Lena, if she feels like doing it, it's on the table now, is that Lesla is a very good scientist, and that people probably haven't been paying attention to her just because her inventions haven't been what they're focused on, but they're actually quite good. Lesla is setting up the gun that's probably going to turn Kara into Satan Girl. Time recording, but that's probably where it's going. She's using black kryptonite, which she stole from the Science Council. Now, in the original Satan Girl story, which we did a video on, Supergirl is secretly split into two by red kryptonite. This in Adventure Comics 313 from 1963. But in the post-Crisis and also post-Identity Crisis era, in Supergirl's first series of her being back as Kara after the Peter David Linda Danvers Supergirl era was retired, in issues 3, 4, and 5 from 2006, it's black kryptonite shot at her by Lex that splits her into a good and evil version of herself. And black kryptonite was introduced as having that kind of splitting effect, not in the comics, but on Smallville. In 2004, starting the episode Crusade. Now, time of recording that red has its own specific function. The other kryptonite colors, they gotta pick up the slack.
Supergirl will become not only chaotic and antisocial, but ironically stupid as well. She'll be turned to a super fool for all of Midvale to see. Then they'll appreciate me more than ever. Or maybe they'll still love her more than me anyway. I just can't ever measure up to her. Oh, Candy, you still love me no matter what, don't you? Yes, you do. No matter how loathsome or useless I am, you're here.
But we're not done. This comic still has a montage to do. One that really shows up some classic costumes. Ones that were designed by fans and many used inside of the comics themselves. And it's really nice to see them resurface, given a bit of their due. Like this first one was designed by Margaret Berg. They used to put who designed them in the comics, at least when it was one design and not one that was cobbled together from a couple. Although sometimes you would also get credits in the letters column too. This was because they were part of a contest to design a new costume for Supergirl. You saw this kind of swimsuit looking design in Adventure Comics 409. The next one shown is the one that showed up in Adventure Comics 397 as the winner of the contest. Supergirl goes to see Diana, who is in her mod Wonder Woman era and running a clothing boutique, for a new costume after her costume is destroyed. Mike Sikowski, who would be the one who recycled all these costumes, was also the one who designed that Wonder Woman costume, the mod one that people have mixed feelings about. Now, this winning costume was an amalgam of a couple of designs submitted by Louise Ann Kelly and Jean Bray. The full body one with gloves is from Adventure Comics 412. It doesn't have a credit on it, but it looks like a fusion of a couple of the full suit designs that were originally submitted. Also, this was an issue where she was facing an imposter. I'm telling you, this happened to her on the regular. The cute little dress that surprisingly has no yellow accents wasn't used in a story, but was showcased as one of the submissions in Supergirl Super DC Giant number S-24. It was designed by Joan Beavers. The next one kind of lives in my mind rent-free because it's featured on this one cover where Supergirl's being dragged by her hair, which is hard to forget. It's from 415 and does appear with no credit. I said when I first talked about this costume, because we did a whole video on this era of her costumes, that it made me think that she had joined the New Gods, and I stand by that. And when I did a short about this, somebody else commented they felt it was New Godsy too. There are dozens of us. The one with the headband is her 80s look. It took a moment for that to click for me because I'm not used to seeing it with the de-poofed hair, but the costume itself did debut with her hair straight, but it didn't have the headband at that point. She got that costume itself in issue 13 of her 1980s run, and it even makes the cover as a dynamic new costume, but she didn't get the headband until issue 17, which is the same issue she gets the hair changing comb. And also she's wearing the headband. The in-canon reason is because it's Kryptonian. She's bringing some Kryptonian flair to her costume. The costume she settles on is her 70s hot pants look, which is a modification of a contest winner, which was featured in Adventure Comics 410, designed by John Sposato. That one has different shoes. But the hot pants look is one of the classic Supergirl costumes. And on the panel we get to see that. We get to see Lesla's new villain costume, because she's decided, you know what, she's not even gonna, it's over, full villain, life of crime. She's even got those villain secondary colors going on. Purple, green, some orange, it's all over. Those are Lex's colors. And she's even more stacked than her first glow up. That yellow sun, it's gone straight to her thighs. Thick thighs, save lives. Do they still do that if you go evil? We'll find out. Although it does seem like they're setting her up that she could have a redemption arc fairly quickly, which I'm not sure how I would feel about that. I kind of like classic unhinged Lesla. But again, all of this is to be seen in the future. We shall see. And that was issue 2. So thoughts, comments, questions, concerns? Let's break it down. The Supergirl series is clearly going for a more light-hearted tone. It has some strong inspirations from the Silver and Bronze Ages. And so for those willing to go along in this journey, it'll be much more enjoyable. And there is a lot of love for Supergirl and her history present inside. You can see it in the references and the things that are being brought up, as well as the style of storytelling with the pacing and the thought
pop balloons. The energy is upbeat and meant to be fun. It's got the bright colors, the over-the-top happenings. So if one is into that, this is gonna land very well. However, for others, this may not feel grounded enough, and they may not want to go along for this ride. There's some just go with it energy in this issue, like Lesla's transformation or some of the looseness around the town being fairly chill about this fake Supergirl. Which, while it may work for some, others may find it jarring. Kara does come across as less mature, and some may be thrown through a loop with her using words like baddie. It is inevitable. The word Riz was in the Death of Silver Surfer comic, although it was used a bit more tongue-in-cheekily. So for some, this may feel like a regression for Kara, while others may be having fun with it, and for some it may be their first encounter with a Supergirl series. Everybody's coming at things from a different vantage point. The same feeling of different tone goes for Lena as well, as she does have a bit of a different energy over in this appearance than over in her Superman ones. However, how she comes across here matches the tone and vibe of this comic. Again, some may feel there should be more of a synergistic, across the line kind of compatibility, especially as they're becoming more interconnected. There are editor's notes. The designs of characters, particularly busting out of her costume Lesla, have been embraced by some as fun and refreshing, while others feel it might be exploitative or a step backwards. That comics are meant to be moving away from such things, while others feel that just every comic is different, each can do its own thing, and that this is kind of fun. That's the word of this ending, apparently, fun. And as always with these seemingly polarized, less polarizing discussions, some do not care. Meh is their answer. Meh, they say. Also, mileage varies for some on the art. Some feel the style matches and it's very vibrant and energetic, while others feel that it's a bit of a downgrade from your more traditional or classic superhero style content, the more classic version of a house style. Although time of recording, there's been a lot of experimentation across the board with different styles for comics, the mainline comics. Now, when it comes to the emotional core of the book, the where do I belong, who am I that both Kara and Lesla are going through, Lesla really shines in that regard, in terms of it feeling and coming across as authentic, even if it is a tad cliche. But there's a genuineness to her self-pity and the way it twists that comes through, even if for some it may be something they've seen before.
Or just not as fun as the off-the-rails evil original Lesla, who eventually went insane. I mean, for those who know of her, again, she's a very old character. There's this whole kind of subtext about accepting yourself and trying to craft an identity. You can see that running through Lesla, at first around trying to be someone else, and later in opposition to the person she was trying to be. It's a nice contrast to Supergirl having had an identity she could not fully perform and then having another thrust upon her and trying to figure out if she fits into it or not. Kara comes across as not as competent as a superhero as she could based on some of her actions. And in general, there's some unconnected tissue between scenes at certain times. But there's nothing that's so far off that it feels disjointed or that one can't follow. It's also a less decompressed story overall. And despite outright stating character motivations at points, assumes the reader can follow along. This is also a very Silver Age type of energy, super intense explanations for some things, and for others, none at all. I'm having a lot of fun with this book, but I can see why some others might not be. So I would love to hear all of your thoughts. Please share them down below. And while you're down there, please do all YouTube things like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time to spend discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.